I'd like to call the Senate Health and Welfare Committee to order at this time. I am sorry for being late. If you want to get some good action, go next door to Resources. They're having a hearing on a fish and game rule that has to do with technology. So anyway, it's in hunting. So you hunters in here, you might want to head next door. Committee, first we have on our agenda is the minutes from February 10th. Senator Blaylock.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes from February 10th, 2026.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of February 10th. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have Senate Bill 1346. We have some ground rules we want to put down here. I'm sorry I'm late, but we do have a hard stop close to 4 o'clock because we have to go onto the floor at 4 o'clock. Each presenter, Senator Shippey will take a time to open this, and then we will start with our presenters. Everybody gets 2 minutes, and we'll go down our list, and when we get to the presenters, there are a few that Senator Shippey has asked to present. Each will have 2 minutes. And then we will start down through our list, mostly of in-person because people have traveled here, have came into committee, so I'm going to look at those first. And we will alternate on those for and against the bill. So with that, Senator Shippey, if you'd like to present.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. I appreciate you taking the time and interest to take a look at this bill. Before you is Senate Bill 1346. I want to start by saying that there is one thing that I think we all here in this room can agree on, and everyone listening online, is that the safety of our children is paramount. I think we can all agree on that. The purpose of this legislation is to safeguard the health of Idaho's most vulnerable, our pregnant women and children. This legislation proposes a targeted 2-year pause on mRNA-based COVID-19 products for these groups. This is not a blanket ban, but is a prudent safety pause to allow for the evaluation of emerging evidences. For over 2 years, dedicated citizens and experts have collaborated with this body to refine this measure, drawing on peer-reviewed studies and real-world data. Today, I'm drawing from some compelling presentations by leading experts to underscore why this pause is essential. I want to begin with the risks to reproductive health. Epidemiologist Nicholas Holscher has documented that in animal models, lipid nanoparticles crossed the placenta and destroyed over 60% of primordial follicles, the finite egg supply a female is born with. This biological damage is echoed in human DNA. A large Czech study of 1.3 million women revealed that recipients of the mRNA platform faced a 33% lower successful conception rate compared with non-recipients. Molecular biologist Dr. Christina Park explains as well in her presentations that many of us have seen that the fundamental flaw, namely the mRNA technology, reprograms the cell to produce the spike, the viral spike protein internally, essentially turning the body into a factory for toxins and inflammatory substances. This triggers chronic inflammation, particularly dangerous in pregnancy, where it risks altering the genetics of future generations. Dr. James Thorpes, a board-certified OBGYN with 46 years of experience, has referenced 16 peer-reviewed studies, including VAERS analysis post-rollout, linking mRNA products recipients to elevated risks of miscarriages, stillbirths, fetal malformations, preterm delivery, and placental injury. In Pfizer's own clinical trials, infants born to recipients showed a higher rate of health complications and safety issues as reported to regulators. Dr. Thorpe has emphasized a core obstetric principle, namely, novel substances should never be introduced during pregnancy due to unknown risks. For children, the evidence is alarming, as epidemiologist Holscher has documented that the federal VAERS data has exceeded red flag thresholds for 146 serious events, including breaches of the blood-brain barrier leading to encephalitis, myelitis. Beyond these initial warnings, a specific clinical study links mRNA gene therapy products to 86 distinct disorders, with extreme elevations in neuropsychiatric conditions like homicidal ideation, plus 25, they were 25 times more likely to have suicidal thoughts, cognitive decline. And moreover, genomicist expert Kevin McKernan, who brings decades of experience from the Human Genome Project, conducted an analysis exposing DNA contaminants that act as on switches for cancer. Because these contaminants were shielded by the delivery system, they can enter a child's cell and persist for months, potentially driving the development of new cancers, a risk that is devastating for growing children whose bodies are still developing. Sasha Ladipova, an FDA regulatory expert, has exposed a significant legal loophole. These mRNA products were never developed as standard medicine, but as EUA countermeasures. Under federal law, Section 564 of the FD&C Act, this classification exempts them from consumer safety laws and manufacturing standards. They are legally defined as emergency tools and not regulated pharmaceuticals. Despite the purported BLA approval in 2021, Ladipova describes this as a, quote, magic leap, a bait and switch, if you will, from clinical trial formulations to mass-marketed ones without meeting standard licensure requirements. This has led to a citizen petition filed in December of 2025 demanding that the revocation of these licenses, declaring the products misbranded and adulterated. These regulatory failures underscore why we cannot rely solely on federal agencies. Idaho must act as the final line of defense in consumer safety. You will likely hear testimony today stating that we should just follow the federal government and that we have no business as a state to deviate. But what we are doing here is not unprecedented. 28 jurisdictions have formally moved to deviate from federal CDC guidelines for their childhood immunization schedules. These states, and they did that this year, these states have recognized that when federal agencies fail to uphold rigorous safety standards, the state has a primary responsibility to act as the ultimate safeguard for its own citizens. These states include Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Michigan, Mississippi, and I can continue. These states authorize their own recommendations rather than following the CDC federal guidelines. They have set a clear precedent that when federal oversight fails to protect the most vulnerable, the state must provide a necessary safeguard. Idaho has the same right and the same duty to protect its families. Now, I want to address some common concerns that I hear. One is, does this bill violate medical freedom? And I would say absolutely not. This is an issue of both informed consent and misbranding. In fact, alternatives abound when it comes to products for treatment. Protein antigen-based options are available. This pause doesn't affect critical gene therapies for cancer or existing genetic disorders. It is not a universal ban. It simply suspends one specific experimental gene therapy platform temporarily. It maintains access for for novel therapies under clinical trials for compassionate use. You'll see that in your bill. And in conclusion, this pause is a measured response. It creates space for health authorities to evaluate mRNA technology properly, protecting Idahoans from documented harms. And as you listen to the testimonies today, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Are they able to refute any of the data that I have presented? And do they support the continued widespread administration of these products because of robust science and long-term studies, or otherwise? Another thing that you may hear is this bill is violating parental rights and authority, and that the decisions to use these products should be made without any government influence or oversight, not to mention that all pharmaceuticals are only administered by government permission. But would these same individuals support allowing parents to give their minor child, let's say, a cigarette to smoke? Would they support allowing parents to put beer in their sippy cup of their child? But we see that it is not unprecedented for the state of Idaho, or any state, to say that there are certain things that are unsafe for children. I would also remind this committee that this product is not merely something that is being discussed between a doctor and a child's parent, but it is largely government-funded and a government-driven product. By supporting this bill, we honor our responsibility to Idaho families, ensuring safety is driven by discernment and not haste. Madam Chair, I've sat down with many in committee. I've sat down with many parties already, and we've worked on the bill, added some language. There are some other tweaks that we would like to make to the bill. We've had many discussions with others. There are some areas I think we need to clarify, especially when it comes to the end of the pause and how it would be, the data would be understood. And I think we need to clarify a few things. We don't want to change the substance of the bill and the goal of the bill, but there are a few tweaks that we would like to do. So I just want to put this out there that we are asking the committee when I come back to send the bill to the 14th order for possible amendments, so we can sit down with interested parties and stakeholders and work through the language and make sure that we do it right, and to accomplish the things we want to accomplish, and not to have also unintended consequences. So with that, Madam Chair, I will stand for questions.
Committee questions. Senator Wintrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Shippey. I just had a process question. On the second page there, on number 6, it says individual human gene therapy product may be exempted from the provisions of the section if the legislature determines after reviewing the available safety data. And so I'm just thinking of the amount of work that we've been doing. What process exists for the legislature to review, determine, give a ruling? Talk to me about that part.
Senator Shippey.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Wintrow, I think it's a fairly simple, it'd be a fairly simple process. Obviously, it wouldn't be something that would be this session, or even likely, well, I can't speak to the next session, how that would look. I think it would be fairly simple, where we would, a company would bring their product and their safety data, which would presumably have long-term safety, and working with the department, we would review that in the germane committees and provide whatever tweaking or amendment to the legislation to allow for that.
Follow up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Shippey. I would just encourage you to kind of think about that, because I'm not sure that we have a mechanism by which to do what you're recommending in this part. And it seems like we would have to set up a special committee and I just don't know that we have those kind of powers. Maybe we've done it before and I'm just not aware of it. So I was just thinking you might have to think about how to address that piece.
All right. Any more questions? Senator Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It sounds like maybe the process can just come back to this committee, right? And we can have a presentation on some of that. But I guess I just had a question of what of the safety data is there? specific sources of the data that we're hoping to refine or look at so that we know that the product has been proven safe at that time? Is it just from one agency? Is there multiple? Or what are those sources?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Kaiser, yeah, so part of the, as what I mentioned earlier, we would like to go in and add additional clarifications as to what we're talking about when it comes to where the data is coming from, what is credible data, et cetera. And then it would be on the germane committees to evaluate that data, and then we would set up a process with health and welfare to reinstate, essentially.
Senator Bierke.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator Shippey, I'm looking at some of the definitions you have down here, lines 35 through 41. In your presentation, you talked about a specific gene therapy, but there's a bunch of definitions listed. I am not a medical person, so I was wondering if you could explain those in maybe a little bit of more layman terms to give us a clearer picture of what all these things are.
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Bierke. I would have to phone a friend since I was not the primary author of the language. It is above my pay grade as far as the definitions. I will point out the application of this, that it's a human gene therapy product that is administered for infectious disease indications. And so if you look at line 28 on page 1, starting in line 27, it says any human gene therapy product for any infectious disease indication, essentially being used as an immunization for immunization purposes, which would already exclude some of the others that we have listed out as an exemption. And so, but as far as the definition, I would have to phone a friend, and I don't know if you would allow
We have
that.
some other presenters that might be able to answer those questions, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, this is only as it pertains to vaccinations, immunizations itself, correct, Senator Shippey?
Senator Shippey.
Madam Chair, thank you, and Senator Kaiser. Yes, it's only for infectious disease indication, which essentially to prevent. Essentially, the goal, of course, of an immunization is to prevent transmission and so forth. And so, but it's not for genetic disorders. It's only for infectious disease indications.
Other questions? I have a question. Going back to what you said about other states and entities in other states, can you tell me if those are, is it the full state? Is it a health district within the state? Is it a county? What are those entities that you were referring to within all those states that you listed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so talking about the principle of essentially preemption, we're saying that the state has the responsibility and authority to offer a different opinion of and regulation of what is safe or unsafe. And so currently they are going, so the CDC has issued new guidelines regarding children vaccinations, and they've actually shrinked that really small. Many of these states that I mentioned, or these 28, have rejected that and are accepting other standards than as provided by the CDC, and have essentially said, no, we believe this is safer for our children, and so we are offering our state guidelines. We are refusing to follow the federal guidelines on these, and that's essentially what they're doing. And they've actually formed a couple of associations, state associations. There's in the Pennsylvania area, they have one, and then there's also one, I think Oregon, Washington, California has also formed one as well. And it's kind of like a little mini CDC with just 3 states.
Okay, so can you repeat that sentence to me that you said from your talking points?
Yeah, so thank you, Madam Chair. As it pertains to the principle of the federal government, let me just see if I can find it. I apologize. Okay. So I said, you will likely hear testimony today stating that we should not follow the federal government and that we have no business as a state to deviate. And the principle that I'm stating here is that it's not unprecedented for a state to break away from federal recommendations and to essentially view the safety data themselves and make their own determinations, as these 28 states have done that this year.
Okay, but you said an entity within the state, I believe. Is that not true? What was the language that you used?
Oh, I think I said 28 jurisdictions.
Okay. Jurisdictions within those states, is that correct?
No, I believe that is the entire state, Madam Chair, but I could follow up and look at that.
I have another question then. So they are not going with new guidelines. They're staying with the original guidelines that they had or recommendations.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So it essentially, I believe it's the ones that they had before the federal government changed their guidelines. But it is essentially they have evaluated the situation as a state and said, we are breaking away from what the federal government sees as safe and prudent, and we are going to essentially adhere to what we believe. We have evaluated this as a state and what we believe is safe and prudent for our citizens and for our children.
Okay, so you're saying that these states are doing what you're trying to do here. Is that correct?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Somewhat in principle. It's not exactly the same in that the CDC guidelines are guidelines, and where the FDA has authorized the use of these products, which has not gone through the normal channels, but through an emergency channel, which is still operational until 2029. If these products were to go through the normal channels, they, as the evidence is showing, they would be pulled immediately from the market. And so this is really saying the state has the responsibility and authority to view the data and to make a decision rather than to blindly follow whatever decision the federal government has made. These other states have done this, but on other things. They've said the federal government has made their decision on what they recommend. We are rejecting that as safe and prudent, and we are going to review the data ourselves and make our own decisions for our states.
Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just kind of a follow-up on that question, Senator Shippey. I guess from what I'm understanding, that those other states, whatever, it probably conflicts with some federal recommendations, but I guess I'm wondering about interstate commerce regulations. Do we know anything on that?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Harris, as far as interstate commerce goes, I'm unsure of what that would look like. I do know that we have reached out, or the Department of Health and Welfare has reached out to our federal regulators, or I believe the CDC, and they have said that this wouldn't change anything on their end if the state decided to not follow their guidelines, essentially.
Senator Berkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Shippey, I have a clarification and a question, if I may. First clarification, did I hear you say that all gene therapies fall under the emergency authorization?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Bierke, I don't believe they all do. The specific ones that we are trying to place a moratorium on have been authorized under emergency authorization.
follow up if I may.
Follow up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Shippey, also you mentioned that if you do get the moratorium, that there's protein antigen-based options available. Is that, I don't know what that is, but is that something that's like readily available?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Bierke. So I am not an expert in this area. I'm sure there will be others that can clarify that question as well as there is testimony. But I can look up those answers for you and get them to you if I'm able. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, committee, we have some presenters. We have quite a few, but we're going to get as far through these as we can. I have three that Senator Shippey has asked to be first. Each presenter has 2 minutes. First, we have Nicholas Holscher. Welcome to committee. You have, please introduce yourself and then the time is yours. We have a 2-minute timer.
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Nicholas Holscher. I'm an epidemiologist with the McCullough Foundation. I'm here to testify in support of this bill and to present documented evidence regarding observed harms associated with the COVID-19 mRNA gene therapy injections. Over 1,000 peer-reviewed studies now show that the mRNA products are inherently hazardous to human health. Lipid nanoparticles distribute systemically. Vaccine mRNA and spike protein have been detected in heart, brain, adrenal, and vascular tissue at autopsy. Independent laboratories have confirmed human persistence of vaccine mRNA, spike protein, and plasmid DNA fragments for more than 3.5 years post-injection, hijacking cells and vital organs to produce pathogenic non-human proteins has grave consequences. Prion-like amyloid microclots were recently found in 100% of mRNA-vaccinated individuals tested in a recent peer-reviewed study. Post-mortem analyses of over 300 peer-reviewed autopsy cases found 73.9% of deaths following the vaccine were caused or contributed to by the vaccine. 32 studies now show increased mortality signals associated with mRNA vaccination. 3 independent estimates yield 470,000 to 840,000 U.S. mRNA vaccine-associated deaths. Animal data show mRNA injections destroy 60% of women's non-renewable egg supply, the primordial follicles. Human population data with over 1 million people in it found that the vaccinated women had 33% lower successful conception rates. The 2 largest COVID-19 vaccine safety studies ever conducted, involving 184 million people, found significantly elevated risks of heart attacks, myocarditis, arrhythmias, strokes, brain clots, Guillain-Barré syndrome, and neuroinflammatory disorders. More than 10 reports have found plasmid DNA contamination in the vials. Direct evidence of genomic integration has been published in the peer-reviewed literature. Population studies involving millions show statistically significant increases in 7 major cancers following COVID-19 vaccination. Finally, 9 studies have demonstrated negative efficacy, meaning increased infection risk with more mRNA injection doses. If any prior vaccine in U.S. history had generated this volume of death reports, excess mortality signals, organ system toxicity, and contamination concerns, it would have triggered an immediate Class 1 recall. This bill is not extreme. It is necessary. It is a necessary public health
Mr.
safeguard.
Holscher, thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Questions from the committee? Do we have any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Next, we have Christina Parks on the screen. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself, and then you have 2 minutes. And speak up loudly. Our last presenter was we couldn't hear him that well, so thank you.
My name is Dr. Christina Parks. My PhD is in cellular and molecular biology, which involved intensive study of technologies such as gene therapy. And so I would be happy to answer the questions that the other member had asked about the language at the bottom of the bill. While traditional vaccines involve injecting a small amount of protein from the pathogen, which the body can quickly clear, gene therapy vaccines
Ms.
turn the
Parks,
body's
could you
cells
speak
into
up?
a manufacturing plant for a toxic foreign viral protein. The viral genetic material is wrapped in fatty vesicles, ensuring that it is deposited directly into cells, where it forces the manufacture of a viral spike protein. To be clear, the spike protein is responsible for the most devastating effects of COVID. Pfizer's own data show that the vaccine material accumulates in fatty tissues such as the ovaries, adrenal glands, liver, and fatty covering of the heart. Since the spike protein is foreign, the body will be activated to attack and destroy those cells, whether they are in the livers, ovaries, or the heart. Since mRNA nanoparticles cross the placenta and are in breast milk, fetal and infant tissues forced to make the spike protein may also be subject to immune attack. Data now show that the cells of some individuals have continued to produce spike proteins for up to 4 years post-vaccination. This actually isn't surprising because the goals of gene therapy are to get the target genetic material into as many cells of the body as possible, have those cells express the mRNA and make the protein for as long as possible. But none of these are necessary for the efficacy of a vaccine. This type of genetic technology has extreme risks that are not associated with traditional vaccines, including runaway inflammation and cancer. Gene dysregulation leading to the development of cancer is a well-known unintentional side effect of therapeutic mRNA and its breakdown products. This is why regulatory guidelines for gene therapy technologies require 10 to 20 year surveillance to pick up signals for cancer and autoimmunity, careful screening for genomic integration into sex cells, careful screening for increased prevalence of blood disorders and cancers such as leukemia and lymphoma. COVID vaccines are devoid of any of these normal safety protections because they are designated as an EUA countermeasure, which falls outside the normal regulatory safety laws. You have the power as a lesser magistrate to protect our most vulnerable members of society by enacting a pause on the use of this technology in pregnant women and children until proper long-term safety studies are done and liability is fully present. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can answer
Do we
those
have
other
any
questions now
questions from
or
the
not as you would like.
Okay. Committee, are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Thank you for being with
You
us.
didn't want me to answer the other congressperson's question on the bottom of the bill? The language?
Well, she's out of time, so.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, two questions
said-
that I will
she
answer.
said-
One is of the protein. The protein vaccine is Novavax, and that is available. So that the availability, the wide availability can be looked into, but there is version available. Oh, sorry, could you hear my answer for that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and then the second one, the language at the bottom of the bill, there are many types of gene therapy. The defining feature of it is it puts the genetic material inside the cell and turns the cell into a manufacturing plant for what is desired, which is a protein. And all of that language is just basically denoting the various different types of technology or types of genetic information that it includes. It's really just to be specific so that it's clear to the scientist. And of course, you can have it reviewed by scientists, but basically it's just trying to designate what those are, but they all have the same goal. Like, for instance, AstraZeneca and J&J had a virus platform, whereas Pfizer and Moderna were an mRNA platform. It's just looking at the different platforms. Both are gene therapy, and that's why it's just laying out a point by point to make
Thank you,
sure
Ms.
that they're
Parks.
all
Thank
listed
you.
and included. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being with us today. Next, we have James Thorpe. Welcome to the committee. Can you hear us okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Please speak loudly. Our last two presenters, we could not hear them that well. So if you could move close to your microphone, that would really help us. Thank you. Please identify
do that.
yourself, and then the time is yours.
My name is Dr. James Thorpe, MD, and I'm a practicing OBGYN maternal fetal medicine specialist with over 46 years of clinical experience. I'm extensively published, and I've testified in the United States Senate several times since the turn of the century. To date, there are approximately 5,000 peer-reviewed medical journal publications documenting harms after COVID-19 vaccines. I've published multiple studies focusing on the government CDC FDA VAERS database. The COVID-19 vaccines have caused serious harm in many women of reproductive age, pregnant women, preborn babies, and newborns. These include menstrual abnormalities, infertility, miscarriage, stillbirth, fetal malformations, preterm delivery, premature rupture of membranes, placental abnormalities, newborn death, and many more. In addition, Pfizer's own phase 2/3 pregnancy trial demonstrated increases in 8 adverse outcomes in the newborns. Medical journals have maintained a corporate kleptocratic relationship with the pharmaceutical industry for at least 70 years. This has been documented not only by independent investigators, but by the editors of the journals themselves. Corruption of the most influential medical journals include the New England Journal of Medicine, the Lancet, the British Medical Journal, and the Journal of the American Medical Association. I urge you to review my slide set available from Laura Demeray and contact me personally if you would like to discuss this privately. Thank you very much for your time, consideration, and attention to this vital matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Okay, we are going to start down our list of presenters that are in person because we feel like people have come a long ways to be here. So we're going to start with Stephen Montamat. Welcome to committee.
Thank you. Hello,
It's good to have you here. And then I'm finding your name, so you get 2 minutes. Thank you. Please identify yourself.
Okay, Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Stephen Montamat, and I will be testifying on my own behalf against this bill. I am a physician, and I've been practicing in Idaho since 1988. I retired last May, but I still volunteer at a clinic where I serve uninsured in our community. I have practiced medicine in the great state of Idaho for over 37 years. I'm not aware of any time in my medical career where I was prohibited from prescribing a medical treatment by state law when that medical treatment was approved by the FDA for use in the United States. I am not an obstetrician or a pediatrician, but I would rather trust a physician and their patient to make their own decisions about potential risks and benefits of a medical treatment. I do not want the irrational fears or the anti-science ideology of legislators dictating medical care in the state of Idaho. I am the father of a daughter who is an Idahoan, and she is pregnant with my 3rd grandchild. She is entering the 2nd trimester of her pregnancy. She is also the mother of my 1st grandchild, a grandson who is now 1.5 years old. Let the decision-making about important health decisions remain in the hands of my daughter and her physician. Please vote against this dangerous bill from going forward to the floor of the Senate. I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, next we have Laura Demeray. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself, and then the time is yours.
Thank you. I'm Laura Demeray from Idaho. I share my own opinion in support of S1346. Today, we contend for life, health, our children, our cellular integrity, and the future of humanity. We've done our legwork for this bill, presenting science and data to citizens, county to county, board to board. Idahoans and lesser magistrates that hear the science and data cannot help but vote against the gene therapy, or they direct us to the legislature to address this harmful product. The Southwest District Health was the first health agency in the world to defund the jab and its promotion. Gene therapy vaccines are not a free market product, but instead a harmful experimental government product in which billions of taxpayer dollars were used to fund, create, contract, promote, and mandate as a government DoD countermeasure. Brooke Jackson and Dr. Kirk Moore cases established this ownership. Censor and regulatory capture created an information vacuum and a famine of the public mind. There is no free choice or if there is no informed consent, no long-term studies, no liability to manufacturers, no compensation for the injured. That's a tough one. 3,800 peer-reviewed studies show harm, amyloid clots, ribosomal frame shifting, and distribution throughout the body, including brain, eyes, heart, ovaries, testes, bone marrow, and to the fetus. Buck-Holtz and Alden show genetic integration capability. Pfizer document 5.3.6 signaled 1,200 possible disorders, leaving death, disability, and systemic human carnage in its wake. React 19, I volunteer there, has almost 40,000 severely injured Americans who are persecuted, censored, gaslit, and abandoned and broke. In Idaho, 37 were killed and 111 permanently disabled. This bill is not government telling people what to do. It is government telling government to respectfully take their failed poison and product back and reassess their safety standards. I'm almost done.
Your time is up.
Thank you. These harmful products should have been pulled 20,000 dead Americans ago. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Okay,
you, Madam
next we
Chair.
have Amaya Donahue. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself, then the time is yours.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Amaya Donahue. I am a native Idahoan, born in Emmett. I'm a graduate from the University of Idaho. I live in Boise, and I'm the proud mother of 3 children. In my short 41 years, I have made very few life-altering decisions. When to get married. I made that decision collaboratively with my husband and took consideration from no one else. When to have children. I made that decision collaboratively with my husband and took medical guidance from my chosen obstetrician. How to raise my children and provide health care for them. I make those decisions daily with my husband and in collaboration again with my chosen pediatrician. Never did I imagine to make these decisions collaboratively with my local government. I beg you to please, for these reasons, for my children, for the soon-to-be mothers of Idaho, the soon-to-be children of Idaho, please vote no on Bill 1346. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. And next I have Gordon Wilkerson. Thank you for being here. Please identify yourself and then the time is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and respected Senate committee members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this committee. My name is Gordon Wilkerson. I'm a Washington County Commissioner. The information is out, and the disadvantage to receiving this injection far outweighs the benefits. There are negative life-altering medical issues, ongoing issues with COVID injection, including death. I personally know citizens and family members who have been injured by this experimental project. The COVID virus has been proven non-life-threatening to the young. To subject young people, including embryos, to this proven toxic injection should be avoided. As a citizen of the greatest country on earth, I firmly believe the government should not protect me from me. But when government develops something that is detrimental to the population, as an elected official, I'm in a position I feel it is vital to protect the citizens from the government. Thank you for your time. I firmly in favor of this moratorium. Gordon Wilkerson, Washington County Commissioner.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Okay, next we have Primo Castro. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself, and then the time is yours.
I can have to change glasses nowadays, so. All right, good afternoon, Chair Van Orden, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Primo Castro, here on behalf of the Biotechnology Innovation Organization, representing more than 1,000 biotech companies, research institutions, and vaccine developers working to advance life-saving medical innovations. I'm here in opposition to SB 1346. First, it is important to be clear. mRNA technology is not gene therapy. I repeat, it's not gene therapy. Gene therapy involves intentionally altering an individual's DNA to correct a genetic condition. In contrast, our mRNA vaccines never enter the cell nucleus, never interact with DNA, and are quickly broken down by the body after delivering temporary instructions for a cell to make a harmless protein. Labeling mRNA vaccines as gene therapy is scientifically inaccurate and risks creating confusion and unnecessary fear around the technology that has prevented illnesses, saved countless lives, and is poised to help address cancer, rare diseases, influenza, rabies, shingles, and so much more. Second, SB 1346 would impose broad restrictions on families, medical freedom, limiting parents' ability to make voluntary evidence-based decisions with their healthcare providers. mRNA vaccines for children, including COVID, are completely by choice and voluntary if a parent and their doctor believe it is in the best interest of the child. In fact, the bill could create the odd situation where a child is allowed to receive an investigational treatment in a clinical trial, but once the same product is FDA approved, they would be prohibited from access. This would disrupt ongoing clinical research in Idaho, force families to seek care out of state, and place new burdens on children with serious health conditions. Finally, restricting entire categories of scientifically validated technology will put Idaho at significant disadvantage, both in addressing current health threats and in preparing for future ones.
Mr. Castro, your time is up. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have Xavier Figueroa. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself, and then the time is yours.
Thank you very much. And again, my name is Javier Figueroa. I'm a resident here in the state of Idaho. My background is a doctorate in neurobiology and toxicology, and I am in favor of SB 1346. You've heard many experts talk to you about the dangers of this technology. You've heard many citizens in opposition to this technology. The real issue at hand is whether or not you can actually have informed consent and you can actually provide enough information on a technology that now has several issues and questions that are not addressable, and in some cases have been hidden from the public. For example, FDA had to be sued for the release of information on Pfizer's post-marketing surveillance data. A judge had to come in and, well, there was a court hearing that basically released those records, and from those records, it was established that 1,200 people died post-vaccination. And these were FDA documents that were there that were supposed to be released to the public. So in this case, when you have a novel technology like an mRNA therapy that is novel and is strictly targeted at infectious diseases, you have a product which has, of course, this enormous protection from the government. And again, as stated and documented, this is a government program funded 100% using Pfizer Moderna as basically cutouts to provide this technology out in force. So here's the main issue here is not so much medical freedom, it's whether or not informed consent can be provided. And that is a very important issue. How can a doctor provide risk-benefit analysis if the government and those corporations are withholding vital information? And then we have, of course, the opposite side, public available information showing extreme differences in from what is being told to doctors and to the public. That is exactly the problem and the issue facing today, and this is what this moratorium bill solves. It gives choice back. Thank you.
Questions from the committee? Senator Lenny.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Figueroa, do you believe in your opinion that mRNA technology is gene therapy?
As a matter of fact,
Figueroa.
Oh, thank you. My apologies. Yes, that is actually that was stated in the S1 filings of both Pfizer and Moderna in 2018 and 2020, where they stated that even the FDA believed them to be gene therapies. It was only afterwards that the language just was changed via FDA, and again, that doesn't change the scientific reality of it. It is basically a regulatory sleight of hand.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Next, we have Stephanie Nemore. Excuse me if I butcher anybody's name up here. I'm sorry. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself, then the time is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the
Please
committee.
pull that mic close and talk real loud.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yes.
My name is Stephanie Nemore, and again, thank you for the opportunity to be heard here today. I'm here speaking in opposition to Senate Bill 1386. I come here as a parent. My husband and I are parents of two beautiful 6-year-olds. I've been an Idahoan for almost 40 years. As a parent in Idaho, my husband and I have the right, and have done so, the right to make medical decisions for our kids, what is best for our kids and our family, and in consultation with our chosen pediatrician. Over many, many years, this legislature, this body, has been very good at preserving each Idahoan's ability and right to make a decision for what is right for them, and for parents to make decisions right for their children. I want all parents and all people in Idaho to be able to have access to all tools that are used to combat serious illnesses. Included as part of that access to preventative health tools are access to vaccines and the components needed to make those vaccines, as well as for other medical treatment. My husband and I love being parents. We love our kids more than I can really even describe. If you want to stick around, I'd probably bore you with 1,000 photos of them. And we want them to be able to thrive in this community in Idaho, a place I'm so blessed to live. For these reasons, I ask for your no vote on Senate Bill 1346. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Okay, committee, I am going to let Senator Shippey close up with his comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. I appreciate your attention to this, and I appreciate all those who came in and testified. I did hear several things come up. One was that really the FDA is the final authority on what a parent can decide that their child should receive. But the state of Idaho has no business in being involved in that. I also heard that local government shouldn't be involved in the health and safety of children, and I know that our health districts are involved all the time in various decisions that are made with children, and I just want to remind this committee that we're dealing with a product. The goal of this legislation is to deal with a product that was authorized under emergency authorization when there was no emergency for kids. Children were not dying of COVID-19, and we know that. But yet there was an emergency authorization without long-term studies of what would be the long-term effect of these children. And so this is really the state saying, we're going to uphold the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. We're going to step in the gap, and we're asking for long-term studies. We're asking for to show that these products are safe for Idaho children. And as I mentioned before, we do know that there's some language that needs to be tweaked. My ask is that the committee sends it to the 14th order, if that's the will of the body, and we do want to do quite a bit of work on that language and make sure that we get it right, because whatever we do, we want to thread that needle. We don't want to have any unintended consequences. And if that means also having some additional conversations and you all know me, committee, I'm always willing to do that. And definitely appreciate your attention to this. And with that, Madam Chair, I will stand for questions, and thank you.
Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Shippey, thank you for your work on this. But I've got a question, and just kind of help me understand. I'm on page 2, basically on lines 1 and 2. It's an exemption. It says shall not apply to human gene therapy of cancer or genetic disorders. I guess I'm wondering why, if it's good enough for that, how come it's not good enough for infectious diseases? Help me through that.
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Harris, that would have been a great question for some experts, but I will do my best. There are a lot of gene therapies products that they are using in experiments on various other genetic disorders, cancers, and various things that they're finding very helpful. My understanding is that there is a big difference in the application of how these are utilized, where these are very targeted to specific cells and specific areas versus the other is essentially to apply it to the entire body, where it kind of goes everywhere. And so that's my understanding of the kind of the difference between the two applications. And then the other is very I mean, it's all experimental, obviously, but my understanding is there really haven't been the negative effects associated with these treatments that they're doing in this, in number 4 there, as we carved out.
Senator Seiderfeld.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Shippey, just a quick question. So on the 2-year moratorium, can you give us the reason why you picked 2 years? What year are you expecting to find something in 2 years? What if it only takes a year? What if it takes more than 2 years? Will it just go away even if we don't find results? Will that moratorium just end in 2 years if we don't find any results? Can you kind of speak to that?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Zeiderveld, we really chose the 2-year because it gives enough time for safety data to be brought forward, but it also it isn't so long that it sets in motion something that is suppresses innovation, suppresses development of new technologies, and so forth. And it's really last year, if you recall, we brought a bill that had a 10-year, and that was we rolled that back a lot, and that applied to everyone. And we really said, who are the most vulnerable among us, and who are the priority? Especially, we don't know the outcome. There are no it's impossible to have done long-term studies on children who are, have been vaccinated. What are they going to develop into reproductively? We don't know those answers, and so this is really saying we really want to see us look further at that, and really care as a legislature that we need to be. We see, and is it of our opinion that the FDA has, it's not just our opinion, they have authorized us under emergency authorization, which doesn't require the long-term studies, doesn't require all the rigorous placebo tests and so forth. And so this is really us saying you can't just experiment on everyone. And it still allows for clinical trials. You see those exceptions in there, and for compassionate use as well.
Follow up. Thank you. Just going a little further. So in 2 years, let's say we don't find the results, will it go back to what we have now, or how would this rectify itself? How would we, if we don't get the results or the testing back in time, what happens? Will it just go back to what we have now?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Zeiderveld. It could, if these products haven't been demonstrated to be safe, then it seems prudent that they still shouldn't be administered to children. And as far as some of the language on the mechanism of how that looks, that's one of the things that our goal is to fix that language if we're able.
Senator Blaylock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, you've brought up a couple times about needing stronger data. Are you aware that RFK Jr. Has stated multiple times that he also would like stronger data before, like the placebo-controlled trials, before any major changes are made? And in May of last year, he required all vaccine companies to conduct a new live clinical trials, and that information is due just here in a couple weeks.
Senator Shippey?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Blaylock. I did have someone mention that earlier, and so I was vaguely aware of that. This is really, and I appreciate the federal government taking steps on this issue, and I have great hopes that they're going to do the right thing on this. But this is really saying we as a state have an obligation, a duty today to do the right thing, to protect our citizens. And hopefully this could help even urge the federal government to take strides as we've been dealing with other issues, whether it's balanced budget. We do things to urge Congress. We do things to urge someone to act. And so that is also obviously a hope of ours as well, that actions taken by this body could help move the federal government along to where they need to be. So
follow up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the desire to push the federal government to maybe move on this. I think where I have a hard time is multiple times today we said we're not experts and asked you questions and you're not an expert. And some of the work that RFK Jr. Has done on the advisory committee when it comes to immunizations, I mean, when he first got in there, he replaced 17 of those members with health professionals that have been looking at this and plan to review this data just here in a couple weeks. Again, that they're meeting, I think, in March 18th and 19th. I mean, so we're just a couple weeks away from really having that data and having experts, like we wish we had here, reviewing that information and maybe making those decisions based on that strong data that we all desire. So I guess maybe there's not a question in there, more of just a comment.
All right. Thank you. Senator Harris.
Just one more question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Shippey, just so I'm clear, help me out here. Is this specific to the NRA vaccine, or would it include chicken pox and rabies and hepatitis A and those kind of things?
Senator Shippey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Harris. My understanding is this wouldn't target those other vaccines. The goal is not to, and my understanding is this would not. It isn't specific to mRNA vaccination, as there are, as Dr. Christina Parks mentioned, there are a couple of different ways in which it essentially works. A couple of different brands use a different, essentially, mode of application in the product itself. But the basic idea of it's the same. It still falls under that same definition.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Seeing none. Senate Bill 1346 is properly before the committee. Senator Shippey, would you like to join us? Okay. Senator Lenny.
For a motion,
A motion's in order.
I move that we send Senate Bill 1346 to the 14th order for a possible amendment.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to send Senate Bill 1346 to the 14th order for possible amendments. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Senator Winthrop.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Senator Shippey. Really good presentation. And I know everybody that's shown up here today has within their hearts, it's pretty sincere and genuine. And so I appreciate that. Where I'm struggling with the bill, and maybe sending it to the 14th, I know you want to make some corrections. I'm not sure how many would need to be made. I guess what I'm struggling with is what I mentioned that first question, and that's in this process, and that I don't know that the state legislature is equipped to do a review of scientific evidence that we would need. We would almost have to set up another group that we trust, that our scientists can do the trials and those kind of things. But I don't know that I trust us to review all that and make those kind of decisions on some of that. That's where I'm kind of struggling on that. But again, I think everybody is sincere in this, and I think what the struggle is too is when there's so much equal opposition and sincerity. Do I want to exercise on the side of caution and not do anything that's too drastic? So would I hold that in committee? Or so that's kind of what I'm wrestling with. But I do appreciate everybody showing up and the presentations and all that. But that's kind of what I'm struggling with.
Okay, committee, we're going to take a few more minutes and then we'll go. Senator Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there's a good amount of data here. I'm looking at data reported by VAERS regarding the COVID-19 vaccine deaths and other vaccines historically. See, related to Cutter polio vaccine in 1955 was recalled after 10 death reports. Swine flu vaccine, 76, recalled after 53 reported fatalities. And it says here over 37,000 vaccine deaths related to COVID-19. But I mentioned that because I think that creates some level of concern regarding safety. And here we're talking about our children. I'm a father of 3. But I like that there's a lot of exemptions. I like that it specifies treatment or therapy of cancer or genetic disorders. Talks about clinical trials. I do think that there could be some improvements on this, obviously, with regards to what safety data that we would want to review. Maybe expand upon what the clinical trials are acceptable to the legislature. But I think I like the intent. I think there is enough data here to provide some concern. So I'll be supporting sending this to the 14th order to see if we can't do some more work to improve this. Thank you.
Senator Zeiderfeld.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be real quick as well. So we're talking about having a board and that we're not experts on this, but we're also not experts on optometry. We're not experts on the water issues that we vote on. We're not experts on the dental, but we have a variety of people that we could reach out to when we're discussing this. And I do think, you look at even our president, he fast-tracked this with the expert advice, which has caused a lot of harm. And so I think that we do owe it to them to figure out, what is best. And then the other thing I heard was, the parent's choice. We're not taking that choice, but you know what? Government is involved in you making a choice because we tell you can't give your children alcohol. You cannot give them cigarettes. And so government is actually involved in how you are raising. I know, and so I just think that we need to look into this. I think with the 14th Amendment, we can clean up some of the language where the concerns were at. But let's learn from this mistake. And if the president can fast track something on the advice of an expert, then I think that we can maybe do a study on this with the advice of experts as well.
Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got heartburn. As a couple of the testifiers testified, I tend to agree that this is government overreach in the medical decision making of between patients and their medical providers. I just think if somebody wants this, they should be able to have it, should be available. If they don't, then they don't have to do it. But I just think we're kind of stepping into a realm that we shouldn't step into. Also, I'm a little concerned with the broad definition of the human gene therapy products. If it was a little more specific, maybe, but anyway, that's where I'm at.
Senator Bierke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do like the intent of this bill, but I am struggling with some of the language. I'd like to see some things clarified more, and maybe the definition of gene therapy maybe not so broad. It seems sort of over sweeping right now. And then to clarify what Senator Wintrow talked about, how the legislature would determine reviewing the safety data. So that on page 2, that's section 6, I'd like to see clarified as well. And maybe you can do that in the amending order.
Thank you, committee. Any more comments? I just have a couple.
Oh,
Senator
sorry,
Lenny.
Madam Chair. I was just going to request a roll call vote.
Okay.
Looks like our microphone started working too, so that's good.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that parental rights plays a big piece in here. I do have a granddaughter who has cystic fibrosis, and I would love her parents to keep that option open for her to be able to get the vaccine for her if she would like to in Idaho and not have to go across the border to get it. I don't know what this moratorium is really a true moratorium, because in the end, what happens, and I don't know if I do know that we make decisions on different things, but this is more than, I think, deciding if somebody's qualified for, or that we're going to have a increase in fees for optometrists. So I think this is in depth more, and we would have to have a lot of people sitting on this committee that were like a lot of people in the audience who have a medical degree or some kind of high level of training and making these decisions. So I think I'm a little nervous with that. I also would have liked to seen a clean bill come out of this committee. This is the second year we've tried this. So I think there's been plenty of time to get a lot of these questions answered and get some language in a piece of legislation that's ready to go to the floor with either and not be sent to the amending order. So with that, we have House Bill 1346 before us, a motion to send it to the floor with a do pass recommendation. Okay? Send it to the 14th order. I'm sorry, for possible amendments. Senator Lenny has requested a roll call vote, so we will have our secretary do that at this time.
Senator Bierke?
Aye.
Senator Harris?
No.
Senator Zeiderveld?
Aye.
Senator Lenny?
Aye.
Senator Shippey?
Aye.
Senator Blaylock?
No.
Senator Kaiser?
Aye.
Senator Wintrow?
Nay.
Chair Van Orden?
No.
5 in favor, 4 against.
Okay, committee. Well, that's all for today. We do have a meeting for tomorrow. We are adjourned.